Grand Rising, Divine Rise. Blessed be to the day. May it be everything you require to create everything that you desire. Speaking of the aspect of creating what we desire, bringing ourselves into that space, I touched on it this week in this week's episode of this week's episode on the God Hour. It's out now. Links are in the description. Available on Spotify, Breaker, iTunes. Yeah, Spotify, Breaker, iTunes. I'm having a break with iHeartRadio. You can say, Alexa, play God Hour Podcast. Good things of that nature. But I was thinking about this week's episode being terraforming or creating things based on terror. Living in the past. Living in the thoughts of your past means you're only existing based on the behavioral patterns and the mental escapes of the past, the old mentalities and the behavioral patterns. So you're literally in a state of constant emotional stunted growth. So I thought about it, and I wanted to get deeper into the exceeding values. The unrealistic, anything that you're doing based on, if there's no such thing as conditional love, any love with conditions will always leave you in a state of, love with conditions is actually lust. Dealing with an urge, not dealing with something, that's the condition. Love me for how I am and this, and this. That's okay. I can accept you for who you are. But what people think when they're having that is they have this expectation or this expected value, not accepted, but accepted value based on where they're at within that space. So we set these unreal values. We set an unreal value that exceeds the amount that we're willing to put into ourselves. And sometimes this is for us to live vicariously through another individual, another place. Like, take it to the aspect like this. I remember my pops used to tell me, your job, you can't be mad or upset with your job. Your job pays you for every hour that you work. Which was true. Your hour pays you for every hour that you work, and the hours that you go outside, or the hours that you hide in the bathroom playing Plants vs. Zombies on your phone, or whatever it may be. Your job pays you for every hour based on the formula, based on the amount of value that they're trying to achieve. They have a formula set. So to expect anything more out of them than you're not putting into yourself, that always causes the imbalance. So you'll be living in that past thought of, my job never gives me this. Because remember, the minute that you have the thought, it's already in the past. The minute that you have the thought, it's already in the past. It's already old. So the minute that you say, my job does not pay me enough or give me what I feel like I need to get, this becomes a moment of self-reflection. Remember, you can turn that shit, when you're going from overthinking to where you're working for your brain, to analyzing where your mind is not working as itself in that unit. You change the way that you see things, because now you can ask yourself the question, my job is not paying me enough or giving me the promotion or the raise that I need. In that space, ask yourself, in reality, how are you not raising or promoting yourself? Sometimes when we're thinking about any bonding relationship, from friendship, family member, whatever it may be, we make connections that are actually based in the attachments of an exceeding value. Because regardless, when you come to this point, you got one or two choices. You're going to have one or two choices when you hit this point. Either the test is going to challenge you to expand, or that challenge is going to lock you down, is going to show you that challenge is always whether you're existing in this space, whether you're existing in the now or living in the now. Everything that's coming to you is challenging you to step out of that old paradigm to make you level up. So when we think about these exceeding values that we put on individuals, when I'm thinking about the emotional aspect, when I'm thinking about trauma, you'll put an exceeding program or value on an individual, so you don't have to deal with the underlying cause. So let's say you get into a relationship after relationship, and you still have father issues, or you still have mother issues. You still have some issue from your childhood. You have a childhood trauma. Now, every relationship that you go in will have to exceed a certain value. Will have to exceed a certain value, so you don't have to deal with those issues. So now you create that space. You fill that space with the trophies that are signifying that you've made it to a certain level in your life. You've made it to a certain point. A lot of us put ourselves into that thought process, and then we create conduits, which are actually our trophies in our life, that exceed the value. This is all based on putting that exceeding value on something externally, and then expecting it to operate at a maximum efficiency. But we're not putting that same value. We're not putting that same value in ourselves. Think about this when you're coming from, if you're living in those thoughts of your past. Really, take that thought into your mind for your mantra for the day. If you're walking in your thoughts from your past, if you're living in your thoughts from your past, all you can do is you only can exist in the present. How you exist in the present, how you know that you're only existing in the present, how you're going to realize that you're existing in the present state is your reaction. You'll be in a reactive state. You'll always feel like you need something. No matter how deep you get with something, you always feel like you'll need something. These are some of the signs of realizing that you're existing in this presence. You're only existing in the present state based on living in those thoughts of your past self. You're existing in this space. Your behavioral patterns. Things are always going to trigger you. Things that are triggering you, you can't take them because you're looking at them based on emotion. Your mindset, that old mentality forces you to always react to it based on that original behavioral pattern. So you keep following that cycle. That's that cipher that we keep getting stuck in. That's personality and expression. When you think about the Kabbalah, this is the expression. So you stuck within expression, and you stuck within how you presume everything. So then you move forward with the thought process. It's because it's not cute to be over a certain age and say, I'm this way because that's what my sign is. It's not. It's not cute to put that exceed. It's not cute to put yourself in a position. It's not healthy to put yourself in a position to where you're putting these values. And I'm just talking about anything that is your example of what happiness is. You're putting an exceeding value of happiness, something to make you happier, something to make you better, when it only should be adding to. When you're sensitive, when you're in that balance for yourself, everything that comes into your spectrum, everything that comes into your space is simply adding to, or it's showing you that it's time to expand. Everything that comes into your space is adding to your value. You set the boundaries based on how you want that value to be shown. Everything that comes into your space is either expanding your value expanding your worth, expanding your growth, or it's going to be the conduits that are constricting you from not having to grow. So you'll feel like being inside of that space. This week on the God Hour Podcast, we're getting into this week on the God Hour Podcast, streaming now. Burning down the walls, burning down the bridges of attachment, slave mentality, slave to my emotions versus the master of my slave to the illusion, slave versus master, or being a slave to my emotions rather than mastering my emotions. And the last segment, part of the segment of this week's show, was living in the now. I want you to be great. I want you to be the best. But in order for you to be the best, you have to start living in the now. Everything that people are reactive to in their day-to-day, this exceeding value, I want you really to look at, I want you to take this moment in time when you're sitting here in your meditation, in your stance, and I want you to really look at what you have put an exceeding value on and where you learned to put that exceeding value on something. Remember, everything is everything is a reflection of you. Everything is a reflection of you. So everything is meant to show you something based on the reflection. But you got to be humble to see that light. The things furthest away are going to seem the clearest to the ones that are the most humble. Look in your life and see what you're putting an exceeding value on. You're expecting it to perform at this rate for you not to have to really do any work. This is what it usually boils down to when it comes to that. When you keep putting exceeding values into these spaces, you set your intention. This goes into the aspects of intention. This is when you're manifesting things, what level you're bringing it from. Because a lot of us like to put ourselves into that position. A lot of us like to put ourselves into that position and mindset that what level am I bringing this into me from? I need somebody to do this, and this. I need not, want not for anything. And the main key for me is needing not and wanting not for anything. Moving in this space of needing and not wanting nor needing nor wanting anything from this space. And I have to see, peace. I have to see how deep that actually goes every time that I say this, I'm willing to accept that test. Oh, you say you don't need anything from this level? Let's throw this at you. Let's throw this at you. You don't need anything from this level? Yes, I don't need anything from this level. Because anything at this level is simply the byproduct of how I'm aligning myself. So I don't have to worry about anything down at this space. So I don't have to set the exceeding values in other individuals, in other places, in other things. I don't have to put this exceedingly high value on this thing. And then when it doesn't work, when it doesn't happen the way that I expected it, I know I'm stuck in that space. And now I'm like, see, that's why I don't do this. Because if I'm living it, remember, if I'm living in my past thoughts, that means I'm only accepting things that can fit within the realm of my past thoughts. So I continue existing in the old mentality, in those behavioral patterns. God Hour Podcast. God Hour Podcast, Terraforming. It's out now, Spotify, iTunes, Breaker, Anchor, iHeartRadio. Say Alexa. I don't know how I went and got on Alexa. Ask Alexa, say Alexa, play God Hour. I just want you to be fucking great. And of course, tonight, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do the God Hour show, live readings. We're going to get deeper into this topic. It is a very, very deep topic that goes into the aspects of things that this is one of those roots that's within that shadow work in order to allow yourself to expand. If you're interested in readings, inbox me or hit the website. Everything's within the description. Share, love, because I love you, we love us. Ashe.